Welcome to Photography BB's Artistry Effects for Photoshop. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to use our holographic effect. This effect comes in two different orientation templates. There's a landscape orientation as seen here in the screen, and there's also a portrait orientation file as well. To use this effect with one of your photos, all you have to do is download the effects from Photography BB and then open one of the templates. This one here is the holographic landscape PSD file template, and we've just opened this file in Photoshop. There's nothing to install. Now, to get your image into the photo, we're just going to double click on the top layer thumbnail right here, not on the words or the layer itself, just on the thumbnail. And that opens up a smart object layer. And to get our image in, we go to the menu File, Place Embedded, and then choose a photo that you would like to work with. So for this tutorial, I'm going to use this photo right here. So select your photo and click on Place. That brings your photo into the template, and then you can resize it using the anchor points. If you would like, you can zoom in closer and adjust your photo as necessary. And then to place the image and set that into the template, we're just going to click on the check mark right up top here, and that places our file. Now, the last thing we need to do before the template runs its effect is going to be removing our background from the subject. So we're going to extract our subject away from its background by masking our subject. And the easiest way to do this in Photoshop CC is to go to the menu window and then find the contextual taskbar, which is right down here. And then we are going to select our subject. And Photoshop automatically makes a nice selection of the main subject in your image. And then we're going to click on the little mask button here in the layers palette to create a layer mask. And you'll see that removes or extracts the main subject from its background. Now we are still seeing the default template layer right here. So we're just going to hide that. And there we have our main subject extracted. Now to run the effect, all we have to do is close the smart object layer and save it. So we're going to click the little X here to close it and then click save. And then Photoshop is going to work its magic and run the entire effect for us. And there we have it. So we have our holographic effect here. Now in the layers palette, as always, we have a number of different options to play with here. So we're just going to go from top to bottom and we'll walk through how to adjust and make refinements to this effect. So in the toning adjustment layer group here, we can toggle this open and we have the ability to add a vibrance, a contrast adjustment, and a mid-tone boost as well. So we can toggle on or off the visibility of these layers. You can see we have a contrast layer that's having some effect here, and a mid-tone boost layer, which just gives some boost in the contrast of the midtones of the image. And if you wanted to make further adjustments to any of these, you can double click on the adjustment layer icon, and that brings up the controls. So for example, on the add vibrance adjustment layer icon, we could in fact increase the vibrance, we could increase the saturation, or we could decrease it all the way and go with a black and white image. And you can see that by playing around with the sliders here, you have a number of different options for that. So we'll just reset that back to its default. And we'll close up the toning layer group. Feel free to play with any of these to your liking. So next we have the lighting layer group. So we're going to toggle this one open, and we can see here that we have two different lighting groups here. We have a left light color, which controls the left lighting, and a right light color, which controls the right lighting right here. And by toggling these on and off, you can see the effect that we're having on the image. So if we take away the lighting altogether, we can turn off the visibility of the lighting group. You can see what the image looks like with no lighting and what it looks like with the lighting. Now, by double clicking on the swatch colors here, you can make changes to the color of the lighting as well. So let's say we wanted a warmer tone, like a kind of orangish yellow tone right here. And you can again make changes by moving the color swatch picker around. You could do that to the other side as well. So instead of a blue, maybe we want wanted to go with a deeper green, something like that. And you can see you can have a lot of fun playing with these. So I'll just cancel out of that. I'm just going to return to the default settings for now. And I encourage you to have some fun with these lighting layer groups. If you wanted to keep the colored lighting, but maybe reduce the opacity a little bit, what you can do is click on the lighting layer group and just slide the opacity down to maintain that look, but maybe mute it a little bit. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I like it on full lighting, so we're going to keep that open there. I'll close up the lighting layer group and we'll move down to the color options group here. So here we have some preset color options for the whole image and for the main subject here. So we have a hue saturation layer here, which we can toggle on and off. And you can see there's a very subtle color adjustment. If I double click on the adjustment layer swatch right here, again, I can increase the effect of that. I can change the color adjustment that we have here. So we can really play around. We can even control the lightness and darkness right here as well. So we can really play around with some of the options there as well. So we'll just go back to the default setting for now. Now, if I turn that off, these are the original image colors, but we have some preset colors, as you can see here. And to use these, all you have to do is toggle them on. That goes with the yellow look there. Red, purple, blue, and green. And you can even combine them. We can turn back on that hue saturation layer, and you can see we have a combination of the two. You can even go with another one and maybe reduce the opacity down a little bit. So you really have some endless possibilities here. And so for now, we'll just continue with the default settings. So I'm going to toggle this layer group closed. And now we'll go into the holographic effect layers itself. So we'll toggle that open. And you can see here, we have some glow lines. If we toggle that open, we can get into the different lines that we have. But for now, what I'll do is I'll toggle that back closed again. And I'm just going to turn on and off the visibility so you can see what that's affecting. So this is just a subtle detail to the holographic effect. Now, if we toggle that open again, the line opacities, you can see they're quite low, 20, 25, and 20. But if you wanted to crank up any of these, so we can turn on and off the visibility to see what we're affecting. So these kind of purple pinkish lines here, we can crank up the opacity if we want them brighter for some really cool effects on this image. So I'm going to toggle these glow lines closed. And we have the ability right here to restore the original image, the original subject. And we can do that by increasing the opacity. It's set to 0 right now. But if we increase the opacity, that sort of takes away any of the effects that we've got going on the main subject there. And it restores the original main subject. So there may be some cases where you want to restore the original main subject or have a low opacity setting for that. But for this image, I'm going to go with the default settings that we have here. We have a subject brightness layer here, and if we toggle that on and off, you can see just kind of add some lighting and some glow effects around the edge of the subject as well. We have a subject soft glow. So that's sort of on the skin tones and the main details of the image. If we toggle that on and off, you'll see that gives kind of this ethereal type of holographic glow effect that we're going for here. And we have the main subject itself, so we don't need to worry about that one because we want to keep our main subject. But we do have this subject glitch layer here, which just adds another subtle special effect to this image. And you can see it's got this kind of extruded holographic lines here coming out of the main subject. And again, you can play with the opacity. If that's too strong, you can reduce that if you wanted to keep them, or you can get rid of them altogether by turning them on and off. So now we'll jump out of the holographic effect layers on the main subject. And lastly, we have our background layer option. So let's toggle that open here. Now we have some background effects and a main background color. So quite easily we can change the main background color by double clicking that swatch. And that brings up a colors picker. We can go with a really wild background color if you want to. So you can see how you can change it from the default of black and go with pretty much anything that you would like to. With a dark navy blue, sometimes that looks really good with this effect as well. Yeah, but for now, we'll stick with black. And we'll dive into some of the background effects that we have here. So if we toggle that open, we have a glitch texture. I'm going to zoom in on the image so you can see that a little bit. You can really notice it up in this area here when I toggle the glitch texture layer on and off. And if I click on that and crank up the opacity, you should be able to see, just gives this image a kind of a gritty, sort of holographic, techie look to it. So if I zoom back so that you can see the whole image, you'll see how this is coming together right there. So it might be a little strong for this particular image, so we'll back that off, back down to maybe 40% and keep that. We have a background glow effect here, which is clipped to this edge effects layer. So if we toggle that on and off, you'll see that kind of affects the outer edge of the image right here. And you can decide if you want it more clean, you can turn off these glitch effects entirely, or if you want to keep them on, keep some of that special effect, or maybe reduce the opacity even further with that one, or crank it up if you want to. Look at that. Let's go with like 25%. And here, lastly, we have 3 different sort of tech-inspired holographic backgrounds here. So this is the first one that we have. And we have another option here, a different look to it, kind of like a tech-inspired constellation type of look. And lastly, another image type of look here with these sort of round elements on the background image. And another thing you can do with these, if you find one that you like, you can make that layer active, press Command or Control T, and that will allow you to resize the background effect here. So if you want a smaller one, you can go with that. If you want it quite a bit larger, we can blow it up quite a bit larger. Another thing that looks good with some images is to bring the circle sort of right to the edge of the image and then drag it down a little bit. And you can see, you can get a nice sort of effect like this as well. So we went from the default to that. And you can play with these, of course, and see what works best for your image. So I thank you very much for choosing Holographic from Photography BB. Hope you have lots of fun with this one. Happy photoshopping.